Today, we are here to talk about the 5 tips for choosing the right customer service technology. And I'm super excited to have 2 experts here sitting next to me that will give us a ton of real life example and unpack some of the challenges that some of the companies are having when it comes to choosing the right customer service and also how to implement and how to continue to optimize once you implement. And first off, thank you everyone for attending today's webinar today. This is one of our first thought leadership webinar of the year. And to kick it off, I'm really glad you're all here joining me today. For those that are returning, welcome. And those that are new, I hope to see you again. So let's just get some of the logistical things out of the way right now. You can always connect with us on Twitter. And if you find that there are some quotes or stats or opinions that you think is very, very thought-provoking and you'd love to share it with your network, please use the hashtag CustServeWins. You can also use Twitter to send us questions. At the end, we'll have a live Q&A dedicated for about 10 minutes. And really, depending on how many questions we get in, we might actually stay longer than having the 10-minute open window. So in addition to connecting with us on Twitter, you can also send us questions via the GoToWebinar panel. And I know some of you have already done that already, so that's great. Continue to send your questions over, and we'll be sure to answer them at the end of the presentation. The presentation will last for about 30 minutes. I'll get a chance to talk to our 2 experts right here, Sophie and Eric, and the last 10 minutes will be dedicated to Q&A. So expect this webinar to be from anywhere between 40 minutes to, again, depending on how many questions we get. And if you can't stay with us throughout the whole thing, don't worry. This is recorded, and you can always visit it after the webinar. So we all know that it's very obvious that great customer service is important. And every customer basically needs a customer service solution if they want to keep their customers happy. And when customers are happy, we know we see great metrics like there's an increase in customer loyalty. Your customers are going to increase the amount of money they spend with your business. You'll also see that a customer might buy more from you. But let's take a look at some of the stats and some of the repercussion of bad customer service and how that's going to hurt your bottom line. Customers now have the option to reach out to you via all different channels, and they expect you to get back to them via the channel that is the most convenient for them. So let's say there's email, Facebook, Twitter, chat, community forums. And because of the little devices that we have in our pockets in sites like Google, Facebook, and Twitter, in addition to your customers needing you to get back to them via the channels that is the most convenient for them, they also need you to do it fast and instantly. So as you can see, stat number 2 right here in the yellow bubble, your customers are 2 times more likely to talk about a bad experience versus a good one. So a tweet is really just a second away. And as a result, customers as a company, we know that we need a customer service tool to help us manage all of this. So now the question becomes, it's not a yes or no, do we need a solution? It's more about how do you find the right one? And when you find the right one, what are some of the things that you need to do during the implementation process that will allow you to continue to scale and grow your support organization as your business is growing? And so we know that there are many customer service solutions out there. How do you choose the right one? Well, I'm from Desk. Of course, I'm going to tell you that you should use Desk because it's amazing. But I want to present to you all the options that you have, which is why we have 2 experts sitting next to me, which are completely unbiased, and they'll unpack some of the differences and some of the qualifications and requirements that you need to look at. So how do you find a tool that can help you increase customer satisfaction? And on the flip side, it's not about just keeping your customers happy. That's very important. But what about keeping your agents happy? What about continuing to onboard new agents and making sure that they're getting ramped up very quickly? So let us tell you what we think the 5 most important tips are in choosing the right customer service technology for this ecosystem that works for your business. So to start, I'd like to introduce our experts here, Sophie and Eric. Thank you so much for joining me today.
And thank you for having us, Kara. Good morning, everyone. So my name is Sophie Conti, and I'm the founder of Customer Service Lab. So first of all, I'm super passionate about customer service, and I've been a customer service executive for the past 15 years, working for some of the biggest brands like Louis Vuitton and Kodak, but also some of the hottest startups of today's like Leapmotion, Tile, Etsy, Indiegogo, and many more. And Eric just joined CS Lab recently. Eric.
Hello, everyone. I'm Eric Hallquist. I'm a consultant with CS Lab. And my experience is I'm a kind of a hardcore startup support guy. So I've worked at 6 different startups over the last 15 years. Most recently, I came from Dropcam, and before that, Zeusk, and then joined Sophie in her consulting business a couple of months ago. So I'm really excited to be here.
Great. And my name is Kira Cho. I'm hosting today's webinar. I'm part of the product marketing team here at Desk. So Sophie and Eric, can you tell me a little bit about CS Lab? I'm sure most on the phone are not familiar with you, so I'd love to learn more about it.
What do you mean? We're very popular. So CS Lab is consultancy specialized in helping startups. And whether it's helping a startup building their customer service group from the ground up, or to reinvent it as they grow to support, to match their rapid growth and demand. And what we do is anything from customer service strategy for early startups or grown-up companies to assessing, recommending, implementing new technology, to also help with very innovative training for agents and also supervisors to gap analysis and implementation of processes and policies.
Great. And what are some of the clients that are part of your portfolio?
Sure. As you can see from this slide, as I mentioned, Dropcam and Zeusk earlier. Most recently, we've worked with Teespring. Sophie came from Leapmotion. We've worked with One Kings Lane, Etsy, Tile, Moo, and others.
Very, very disruptive brands, very, very innovative companies that grew up very quickly.
Yes.
Great. So to start, tip number 1, how do you pick the right channels that make sense to deploy? Let's talk a little bit about this topic.
Yes.
So as I mentioned, customers are now reaching out to you via all different channels, and they really need your attention and they need it fast. So Sophie, can you tell us a little bit about what are some of the channels that are the most popular for the clients that you work with in the first phase of implementation?
Yes. So as Kara just mentioned, so really with the operation of social media, mobility, and also innovation of new cloud technologies, the CS technology system has really grown way more complex. And now on top of the traditional channel, like you said, so traditional channels like email, chat, and phone, and yes, phone is not going away. We have on top of that, so all the social channels like Facebook, Twitter, also community forums, also text, important. And let's not forget self-service. So, and on top of that, we have to offer this support on all the different devices that our customers use. So, yes, it can be overwhelming, especially when you're starting a brand new business. So, what channels do I need to deploy? So, really, the advice here is to think about the most intuitive ways your customers are going to want to interact with your customer service team, and from what device. So it's really going to depend on your product or service, your business model, and also your customer demographics. So for example, when I say it's going to depend on your product or service, think about tech products like Internet of Things, connected devices that target early adopters, at least at launch. Most likely for this type of product, customers will be completely okay with only email and chat. If your product targets developers, for example, then they will probably just prefer email and forums and community, not phone. Another example is if your product or service deals with financial information and transaction, then most likely your customers are going to want to be able to talk to somebody and will require a phone support.
The support channels you utilize, it'll also depend on your business model and the demographics of your target market. So some general recommendations around business model for subscription businesses, when you have recurring credit card charges, in almost every case, in my experience, a phone number is likely a requirement. People want to talk about credit card information over the phone. With increasingly popular models like pre-orders and crowdfunding, email is generally just fine and perfectly sufficient before launch. And then once after you launch the product and people have it in their homes or businesses, then you'll want to consider what other channels might be appropriate. E-commerce customers, they really expect a variety. Phone is particularly important when you're thinking about if you have a physical product that there's returns or exchanges, or you want to combat fraud. You need to think about phone support. Sorry. And then when we talk about demographics, Sophie touched on this a little bit, but you need to think about that. If you're targeting older customers, or when your market gets kind of outside of tech enclaves or early adopters, those customers will typically demand a phone number or a live channel as well. And obviously, social is the key channel for not just younger customers, but also certain industries. Internet of Things, connected home, those kind of devices, those kind of products. Social is becoming key, if not one of the top support channels. And one just kind of side point about social, the best way we've seen this work is it's a collaborative effort between marketing and support because the types of interactions are very different. And then one last point about the devices. Don't just think about mobile support, but real in-app support is increasingly important.
Yeah, so what happens if, let's say, I have a beta product out in market, and right now I just need the email, but let's say at launch GA, people are going to start wanting to talk to me on the phone. So what type of approach should I take?
Yeah, it's a great question, and questions that we get a lot. Especially for a business model like crowdsourced, crowdfunded, and pre-order models. So our advice is really don't be afraid to take a phased approach. It's completely fine. You don't have to deploy all different channels right away because you don't know enough about your customers. You don't know enough about your products. You're going to go through a discovery phase, and it's fine. Just make sure that obviously you're going to have email, you need to have something. So you're going to have email and make sure that you also have your self-service up, super important. And then you'll start gathering data, reviewing your customers' feedback, and then launch your additional channel. If you don't know which one in particular you want to deploy, then don't hesitate again to ask directly your customers and put a survey together, send it to them, and to understand their expectations better. Your beta testing is actually a very good opportunity. And trust me, people will tell you what they want and what their expectations are. Eric has actually some great examples also.
Yeah, speaking of a phased approach, so one company I worked with originally in the early years, we had email only. And then what we decided to do to test phone support was start with voicemail. And what this enabled us to do was really gauge customer interest. So did they want that channel, but also the volume. So most phone tool solutions will allow you to see the volume by time of day over 24 hours. And then we were able to determine when people are calling and how to staff appropriately to cover phones. And adequate staffing for phone support is really essential because there's a very high expectation of availability. So when you launch a new channel, you really want to think about the staffing required. So keep in mind, phone is always a one-to-one rep to customer relationship. Chat is one to a few, emails one to many, and of course, social is one to thousands.
That's awesome. That's such a good tip. I'm so glad we have our experts here. So let's move on to the second topic, tip number 2. Start with your ticketing system as the backbone of your customer service engine. So now that we've identified what support channels you need to deploy on, the next thing is to really stop and think about how your ticketing system will work. This is extremely important because this is where your agents and yourself will be interacting with your customers. Your agents will live in this tool day in and day out, and your customer service issues are going to impact other parts of your business too, not just your service organization. So this is really the centerpiece of your customer service ecosystem. So let's start off by talking about the ticketing system. What are some of the key features that we should look at, Sophie and Eric?
Yeah. So I can't stress enough that the ticketing solution is really going to be the backbone of your CS technology ecosystem. And it's very important to understand that because, trust me, and I learned the hard way, it's not easy to switch solution. It's not trivial. So our first advice is do your due diligence. So what does it mean? It means list your requirements and the main features and functionality that you need. And don't forget to include also other teams like the marketing team, developers, product that may also count on the same system to interact with customers. Initially, your requirements may be simple, but make sure that you keep in mind 1 to 2 years out to accommodate growth, especially when we're talking about adding channels, adding support for different type of devices. Because trust me, when suddenly you are handling thousands of emails a day and you have even more users, changing a system again is not trivial and can be painful. Just think about data migration. So we put together a quick checklist. And again, it's only meant for guidance. It's not meant to be a holistic list of requirements that will fit everyone's needs because each business is different. So just take what makes sense for your business. But here are really the main features to look at for a ticketing system. So the ticketing system you're going to choose needs to obviously support all the different channels that you want to deploy or you think you will need to deploy, which is these days pretty much everything. Also support all type of devices, OS that you want to offer. Again, not only at launch, but keep in mind the future. And also look at in-app support. It's really a big trend, and it's what customers are requiring and demanding.
And I almost feel like it's a differentiator too, because not a lot of people have in-app support. So if you can figure that out early on and implement it, you'll be one of the stronger players in the market.
Exactly. And same thing with integration with social media and having support within Facebook. And then a second requirement is really looking at if the solution is supporting third-party API integration. Critical. It's what's going to allow you to integrate with all these different channels and devices. Then look at the productivity tools and automations that the solution offers. So, for example, business rules like routing rules, all your macros, all the labels that are going to allow you to categorize, custom fields, you name it. Then also another very important part is being able to deploy customer self-service. So you want your customers to be able to help themselves, and also it's going to help you to deflect some volume. So very important to have this particular feature, and also one that could be branded. Very important for your brand and your company. Then knowledge base. Knowledge base is really super important because you're going to be able to start building a single source of truth with all the answers, not only for your customers, but also for your agents, so like internal articles, instead of having multiple sources like multiple Word documents or you name it. And then, of course, very important, reporting. Make sure that you have reporting available. Don't forget about the UX also for your customers and your agents. It has to be easy to use for the agents. Trust me, I learned the hard way. If your agents don't like the solution, it's not good. Then don't forget to schedule demos with all the vendors that you're including in your RFP, and then check relevant references and financial stability of the company.
Reporting, that's a great topic. I feel like this is one of the ones that we should elaborate on. We know that there are different tools out there that provides reporting, but what are some of the metrics that I need to think about when I'm looking at the different technologies that are out there?
Well, when you select your support solutions, really what you want to do is first list the KPIs or the metrics that you want to track, and then make sure that type of metric is available in the system or solution you're assessing. So, this is kind of a mantra of ours. Really think about what's important to your business, because it's going to be different for each company and you as a support leader. So I always caution people about right off the bat creating this huge list of metrics. You need to know as a support leader the most important KPIs really off the top of your head. So in my experience, I want to know like my top 4 or 5, so I can spit them out right away when someone, an executive comes to me and says, what's our response time, or how many tickets do we get per day? That also, when you have a limited number of top KPIs, that also makes them more actionable. If you have a list of 100, it's going to be really hard to make number 99 and 95 actionable. And also think about, with all these solutions, I like to use the analogy of a tsunami of data, and it can really be overwhelming. So most solutions nowadays will come out of the box with pre-configured reports, and that's really important, really helpful, I should say, to get you started. And then over time, you'll be able to tweak them to your own needs or your own business goals, and then use them as templates for additional fine-tuned reports as you mature. And lastly, don't be afraid to use your own experience and judgment when assessing the KPI results or metrics. Does this number make sense? Is it a trend? Is it an anomaly? Gut feeling is really important, and then can guide you in digging a little bit deeper and finding all the kind of sub-reports and sub-metrics that might be leading to something out of the ordinary.
It's so true. We always have so much data at our disposal. It's really important to be able to pick out the ones that are important and really frame that story around it so that we can continue to optimize and really deliver results. So tip number 3, integration will give you a 360-degree view of your customers. What the heck does that mean? Let me give you an example. A couple months ago, I lost my iPhone, and so I call AT&T. When I'm on the phone, I expect that AT&T rep to already know me as a customer. I'm already frustrated because this phone is going to cost me a fortune, so I shouldn't have to explain to them what plan I have, what type of phone, or what type of model. But because, the new iPhone 6 is coming out, I didn't want to go with the 5S, and so I decided to hang up the phone and go into the Apple store. When I'm in the Apple store, again, I'm frustrated, remember? Mm-hmm. I expect that Apple rep to have that same access to the information in my account as the AT&T rep. How do you do that when you're not AT&T and Apple? So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's critical to, in this age of the customer, that really to try to offer a unified experience across channels and devices. And it's not easy. It's not so straightforward. But so one of the first thing is really, as much as possible, trying to choose systems that integrate with each other to offer a consistent experience. So what does it mean integrating within each other? For example, whether it's an email, a call, a chat, a tweet, a comment, as much as possible, contacts coming from all different channels should be centralized automatically, as much as possible, in one location. And usually this location is your ticketing system. So this is why, again, it's really the backbone of your ecosystem. So that your agents have an immediate view of your customers' history and your customers don't have to repeat themselves again and re-explain everything. And also, your agents will be able to solve the problem more quickly and personalize the interaction. Very important to think about your agent satisfaction regarding this subject, because the last thing you want is really to have your agents using different systems that don't talk to each other and add manual processes to compensate. Trust me, they will get frustrated, and that's not good. So really being able to offer consistent cross-channel and cross-device experience, it's a major trend. It's moving very quickly, and more apps have been already integrated, and now it's all about in-app support.
So as this slide presents, there are some benefits, some key benefits to integration. So increased agent productivity will lead to decreased support costs, particularly for a fast-growing business. That's not a trivial matter. If you're going from 2 agents to 200, that's a big jump in expense. Faster when you have all this information available, there's much faster and more efficient resolution of customer issues because agents can see it all in one place and it's efficiently presented. And as Sophie mentioned, it's very personal and you can get more consistent responses to your customers. So I really like to talk about less focus on the tool or technology will allow your agents to focus more on customer needs and resolving problems. And this will lead to more satisfied customers and happier agents.
So now that you've chosen a technology that is right for you, you're starting to implement it, but it doesn't stop there, because why would our jobs be easy? It never is. So let's talk a little bit about testing your ecosystem before you launch.
So as Kara mentioned, before you launch your solution, it's really important to conduct a testing period. It doesn't need to be a huge elaborate thing, but there's certain ways to do it. You can use your internal teams, or as Sophie mentioned earlier, if you have beta customers, that's a great market for testing. Beware of testing with developers only. If your product's going to go to consumers, because they are different. You can use a dev or QA site or a sandbox. And what you're doing is you want to work out all the routing rules, the queues, make sure the content is right, any integrations or third-party extensions you add, make sure they're working, languages, other fine-tuning. You really just want to make it work. And not just test functionality, but you also want to make sure the content is correct, and then formatting across all your supported devices.
And you may have limited resources to help you with the implementation, so don't hesitate to ask your vendors.
Okay, we're getting a little bit of feedback right now. Let me mute really quick. All right. Sorry about that. So how do you choose the right metrics that are right for you? Let's talk a little bit about the specific metrics.
Yeah, really one of the advice is to track your KPIs from the beginning to measure the success of your customer service interactions. So it's a combination of and this combination of metrics really is going to depend on your business goals at launch and figuring out what's important to you. And remember, your goals as a customer service leader, and as your company is growing, your goals are going to be changing. So don't worry about that.
So what are some of the advice that you have for companies that are just starting out, Sophie? What are some of the key metrics that they should measure? They probably shouldn't be looking at customer engagement metrics.
Exactly. So it's really a mix of quantitative and qualitative metrics. And again, it depends on what's important to your business. But like Eric mentioned earlier, really try to concentrate on a small number of KPIs that you should know off of the top of your head. If you're starting out, I would really concentrate first on your volume and your productivity, your service level for all your channels to ensure you're responding fast enough to contacts, and your customer satisfaction. It helps you quickly quantify satisfaction across the entire spectrum of recent customer interaction. It's a short metric, super important. And then usually all of these basic reports are available out of the box in all main solutions. And then, when you get a little bit more history and more experience, then start tracking Net Promoter Score, And quality assurance, because when you start, well, quality assurance is not necessarily in place. So again, keep in mind your KPIs and goals will change over time, and it's just the beginning. You'll have to change them probably very soon. After you identify your top KPI, what's important is also to think about benchmarking and looking at what other companies are doing in your industries.
So you're not a one-person show. You've got people on your team. So how do you train them to understand these metrics? And even beyond that, how do you train them with the system? And what are some of the tips that you can give to us when building out an all-star support team?
Yeah, this is really a great point and an important one. So don't discount the importance of training your team before launching your solutions. As we said earlier, you really want your agents focused on customer needs and resolving their issues and listening to them, and not fumbling around with how to use new technology or tools or multiple screens on their computer. I'm a strong proponent for documenting your training early on, because that'll do two things for you. First of all, it will help create a knowledge base for your team, particularly if you're using private articles or internal knowledge base. They have the information. They may not memorize everything, but they have the information one quick search away. And that will also help you set the stage for rapid growth or scaling. Let's say, again, you launch with 2 agents, all of a sudden you need to hire 20. Or you're onboarding an outsourced vendor. You're not going to have time to document all your training again. So if you do it as you're developing the tool, it will save you much more time as your company starts growing really quickly.
And so to our last tip number 5, evaluate and audit your customer service technology ecosystem on a regular basis. Customers will always want more, and new technologies are going to emerge continuously. Evaluating and auditing your technology ecosystem should be a part of your regular optimization routine. So what you have in front of you now, it's really gold, because you've got your customers telling you how they like to be treated, how your products are doing, what types of issues they're running into, and how they'd like to be marketed to and talked to. So use customer feedback to feed this evaluation process and continue to use it as an optimization tool. So how do you identify opportunities and really spot potentials before big things blow up?
Yeah, so like Kara just mentioned, so you just have implemented your basic customer service technology ecosystem, and guess what? You have to really reevaluate and audit everything on a regular basis. Technology is changing very, very quickly, so you need to stay informed. And there's also everything regarding basic maintenance.
Yeah, remember, this isn't a one-shot deal. So your business, particularly if you're a startup, your business is changing rapidly. Your team is growing quickly. So don't forget to schedule some time occasionally for maintenance, like updating old FAQs. Nobody likes outdated information.
Especially when Google can pick it up, right?
Exactly.
SEO organic.
That's a great point. A lot of times people will do a Google search for support and not on your site, and who knows what they're going to get. So the better attention you pay to these kind of maintenance issues, the better it will be. And don't forget, even the canned replies that your agents use, you want to make sure those are current and the links work.
Also, don't be afraid again to get feedback from your customers. You're going to understand what they think about their experience with your setup. There's this newest metrics called customer effort score, which is very useful to discover where in their experience customers had to put the most effort, and really help you to kind of tweak your setup. So I encourage you to try this metric and try that. And also, don't forget your agents. Get feedback from them, because they're the ones using the setup every day, all the time, and they should be able to tell you, nope, it doesn't work. We need to remove this manual process. So ask them.
And I wish I can have you guys next to me 24/7. So what if I don't
No,
have
you
you guys
don't.
next to me? How do you stay informed with all this expertise and all of the knowledge that you guys have? I wish I could just take your brain and put it in mine.
Yeah, this is a really quickly moving business right now. So it's really important that you keep on top of not only new products in the market, but what's going on with your new features and new offerings from your current products. Your vendor probably has a good website. Desk.com has great documentation where you can learn about new features that come in, something that may be a pain point for your agent. There's webinars. Don't forget industry resources, Forrester, Gartner. There's a great site we just learned about called G2Crowd.com that has customer reviews and tool ratings. Personal networking, professional networking. There's lots of people in the support business that are really willing to help and offer advice. Things like industry conferences. And of course, don't forget us, Customer Service Lab.
Yeah, we're always happy to answer questions. So if you'd like to get our one-pager that describes our offerings, just email me or Eric. And also, last year, I started a workshop meetup for customer service executive because I wanted to create a different type of event, more intimate, more collaborative, to really allow us to brainstorm the solution to some of our toughest challenges, to share ideas and best practices, and to meet and network with new peers. And we've had some amazing groups of startups, and the feedback has been terrific. So email me or Eric if you're interested in joining us for one of these gatherings.
Thank you so much. So to recap, we've got the 5 tips, and I'll make sure I post this on our social channels so that you guys can get this after the webinar. And since this is a Desk.com webinar, I just want to tell you a little bit Desk.com for those that do not know of our solution and what Desk.com provides. So we know that there are many solutions out there that can help you manage customer service, and Desk.com is the leader in the space. Desk.com is an all-in-one customer support specifically designed for fast-growing companies. This app contains all of the service features a small support team needs in order for you to provide that quality customer service anytime and anywhere. It's really designed to help you get up and running in just minutes, including tools and features to dramatically increase the level of your service so that you can start to provide that excellent customer service to your customers, but also get insights from a reporting tool so that you can start to optimize your support organization and really take the customer sentiment and customer feedback and continue to use that to grow your product roadmap and grow your business. And as a Salesforce product, we know that you really need to be able to see that 360-degree view of your customer so that if you're using other parts of the Salesforce family, you can also have your support and sales in sync. So that's the integration that we were talking about during the presentation. And in fact, thousands of companies are using Desk.com to grow their business. As you can see, there are many, many great brands and innovative companies out there that are using Desk. So I love this slide because I love seeing our customers succeed. There is also a free trial that you can try on our website. And right now we're doing a promotion. So check out Desk.com and I won't pitch any further. Let's go to Q&A, the forum that we promised we would have. So let's look at all the questions that we're getting. Oh my gosh, it's a ton. So let's start with number 1. How do you get customers to use online tools?
Sure, I'll take that one. So to me, this really depends on how you present and design your main support page, your main help page, whether you have a support link or a help link or an FAQ. That's where it all starts because if a customer is navigating your site or navigating your app and they get stuck, that's what they're going to look for. So how you present information on that page is super important. If you want people to call you, make the phone number big. If you want them to use self-service, focus on self-service first and make the other options less obvious. One of my favorite companies in terms of how they present this is Automatic. So check them out, automatic.com. And community support is very important to them. So when you go to their support landing page, you're going to see community very featured. Very featured. That's not great. Featured very prominently. And you can also email them and use FAQs and everything. But they really want their customers to help each other. So that's a primary focus of their support page. Sophie also has another tip.
Yeah, so I think that video tutorials are very appealing to customers. Obviously, it depends on the products that you're offering. But in one of my recent startups, so we were using video tutorials, and it was super, super, super helpful. So you don't need any words, it's just right there, and people get it. So the more videos you have, obviously depending on your product, but if you have a physical product, especially like a tech product, it's getting more and more important to really have a visual.
So question number 2, will there be a recording? Absolutely. I know we're about 1 minute over, but I want to get to all our questions because I want this to be a conversation. So if you have to drop off, I'm really sorry, but we'll be sure to send you a recording after the show. We'll also push us out via our social networks, so you can obviously find it on the web. So if you had to pick one of the tips to start with, which one would you choose?
So, like we said, the ticketing system is going to be the backbone of your ecosystem. And if you don't have any yet, really, really, I encourage you. Again, it's all about the due diligence. Take some time to put together a list of your requirements and think about what you want to achieve and what you need. And again, collaborate with all the teams that may be using it. Super important. This is a start for me.
And you mentioned different channels for support. What about SMS?
Yeah, that's actually a good point. We did have some information about text message support. Unfortunately, we were a little crunched for time. But again, that is available, and there's some cool automated tools that will generate text based on certain tags or keywords. So that's certainly an area to look into, and it's kind of an offshoot or a companion to the in-app support.
So a lot of folks are asking about resources, white paper, demos, and more webinars, just more resources on how do you stay educated and get educated. So I know the Desk.com site has a dedicated section for resources in which you can go and learn more about customer service, not even just about our product, but just about customer service. What are some of the trends out there? So feel free to check that out. Salesforce as a whole also has a lot of great resources on our blogs. We produce a lot of content, white papers that you can also take a look at. But in terms of industry, I mean, I personally like going to G2 Crowd because that's where a lot of very avid and very smart users of the customer service community will have that peer-to-peer recommendation. What are other publications that you guys look at?
Definitely the analyst publication, like we said, Forrester, Gartner. I mean, it gives you really a perspective of what's going on, and you can really drill down into particular functionality and feature. For example, somebody was talking about SMS. I'm sure that there's a whole report just about SMS. So it gives you, again, a perspective. And obviously, you have all the vendor conferences. So you're part of it. And it's a great, I think that, it's a great way of meeting peers and networking. And again, you have CS Lab.
Yeah, and don't forget about the traditional trade publications. So you've got the TMC Nets of the world, the Tech Targets, CIO.com actually has a lot of great stuff. CBS, Interactive, all of those folks will have really, really good provoking content.
You also have, we really look at TechCrunch on a daily basis. So yes, it's all about the industry, but it's also about new solutions coming up. So it gives you a flair about what's the trends and what's coming up, and gives you a perspective. So I think that it's always a good one to look at.
That's a really, really good point. And also looking at what other companies are doing. So if
Mm-hmm.
there are customer
Yeah.
testimonials on a vendor website,
Mm-hmm.
check out what Munchery is doing, right? What are some of the people in your space, like in the vertical that you're operating in? I feel like those are pretty good indications of what you should do next to looking at what other customers are doing.
Exactly.
Cool. So, any recommendations for getting non-tech teams migrated to a new platform? That is that is actually a good one because I'm part of the marketing team and
Yeah.
I'm able to set Desk.com up primarily because it's out of the box. It's very intuitive. So I actually think that if you're looking for a small support team solution, the ones out there, it's very intuitive. It's designed so that when you're implementing the solution, you don't have to be that hardcore IT guy. But if your company is growing and you need more sophisticated systems, like things that you need to connect to your back office legacy system, then obviously you need a team of IT folks. But for the free services out there, I think you can do it on your own.
Yeah, and I think that a key thing is really collaboration. So if you have to implement a new platform and people are not tech savvy, then really include them in the whole process and have demos and have them, maybe using it as a free trial and just to see how they like it.
Yeah. So I think we're really pushing the time here. I want to be mindful of everyone's day. So what I can do is get back to you guys if you have more questions, then I can just email you offhand. Also, let's not stop the conversation here. You've got Sophie and Eric's email address. You also have myself. So feel free to interact with us after this webinar, and we'll be more than happy to have that conversation and continue this. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time today and for attending, and looking forward to having more of you on these webinars in the upcoming year. Happy New Year, everyone.